this is Scythe, and damn, am I tired. For a little over 3 months, I've been getting up at 5 AM to have time to study in peace and learn art. Let's take a look at my progress over the last few weeks. Oh, but first, it should be mentioned what learning resources I use. As a learning structure, I turn to Moderndayjames free art curriculum, found on Reddit. Yes, it's a single PNG file. And free. The thing has 27 subchapters and each one takes about 4 weeks to complete. The first chapter was about gesture drawing. That's how I started, and that was the development after about 4 weeks. So far so good. Chapter 2 deals with the basics of perspective via drawabox. And that's what this video is about. I'm now at the 8 weeks time mark of the second chapter instead of 4, and only have halfway through the 3 lessons that I'm supposed to make. And I also just did one of the 2 challenges. The Draw 250 Boxes in Perspective challenge. Drawabox is a great learning portal for absolute beginners in art like me that covers the basics. Super helpful and above all free. Somewhat unusual, it is highly recommended to use normal paper and fine liner and no electronical devices. Great. I just bought an iPad especially for the art curriculum and printed my own 3D sketchboard. Well, back to the core. The challenge doesn't start straight away. First, you work your way through some lessons and homeworks that build up on this challenge. Let's start with the first exercise. Superimposed lines. I will now show my daily progress on this side while the exercise is explained. The task is to draw a line and then draw exactly over it several times, a total of 8 times. The line should not be drawn too slowly and not too quickly, and preferably from the shoulder and not from the wrist. Posture is important, especially for your health. So you start with the few short lines, then a few medium length lines, and later you try to draw the lines over the whole sheet. If you feel more comfortable then, and especially confident, then you can begin to draw curves. This really helped about my everlasting frustration when attending other art courses, when I just felt my lines sucked so much. This structure really helps and is not as kind of boring as I thought. Let's jump to the current last day of this to-do, and yeah, I think there's quite a little improvement to see and I'm happy with it. Let's move on to the next homework. Now it's time for ghosted lines or ghosted planes. Imagine you place 2 dots on the paper. Then you try to connect these 2 dots exactly with the line. You can indicate this with 1 or more movements over the paper first. This is called ghosting. It helps you to paint the line in your mind before you actually paint it. A great help for precision, and especially on paper, where every line is a commitment. There's no such thing as Control Z. At first, I only connected lines, but the ghosted lines exercise leads into the ghosted planes exercise, and I have already painted planes in perspective instead of lines. This exercise also builds on an exercise later on for the second challenge, the cylinder challenge, but I don't need it in this video. So here again, the latest page with ghosted planes and the first one in comparison. Also totally fine in my opinion. So there are 4 more homeworks to go before we can dive into the 250 box challenge. It's plotted perspective, rough perspective, rotated boxes, and organic perspective. So let's start with plotted perspective. The main purpose of the first one here is to introduce me or other students to working with so-called vanishing points and how they are used in relation to the objects we are drawing. So the lines that are orientating to these vanishing points or pointing toward that points. In addition, it also serves as an introduction to have many lines on the page at the same time and having to sort them. The exercise rough perspective encourages you to stop relying so much on everything being aligned to a certain vanishing point. Instead, it helps you to understand how parallel lines naturally converge in perspective. Since a scene may require countless vanishing points, it's impractical and inhibits creativity to draw them all. By focusing on how lines behave and accepting that close enough is often good enough, you can achieve visually compelling results without aiming for perfection. This allows you a greater creative flow. To put it quickly, rotated boxes was specially designed so that it is actually too difficult for a beginner. Nevertheless, you should do this exercise. Well, the teacher isn't called uncomfortable for nothing. Imagine drawing boxes that are arranged around a kind of core and rotate in perspective. That was hard, and the result looks exactly the same. But in between, you have to give in to the challenge and make your own mistakes. They are the best teacher. At school and unfortunately often in society too, the motto is don't make any mistakes. But that's nonsense. Your own mistakes are and remain the best teacher. So don't be afraid of them and don't avoid them. That was my biggest lesson in this task. Now, in organic perspective, the last one, you have to draw rotating boxes that are oriented along a curved line. This exercise is designed to challenge you by having you work with 3D boxes in space without prior guidance, relying on your intuition and hunches rather than set rules. The aim is not to perfect it, but to get you thinking about special problems in a new way, even if you make mistakes. These 4 challenges were particularly tough, but then I felt well prepared for the 250 box challenge. But let's come to this challenge. It's actually divided into 3 sub-challenges. First, we deal with the first 50 boxes, meaning that we draw the boxes with rapid convergence. So the vanishing points are placed not far away, but on the paper itself. After that, we grab our ruler and with another color than black, we just follow the lines to see if we cross, or better said, hit the vanishing points as a control. And you see me speeding this up a lot because it was a lot of ghosting lines before just committing. I was unsure at the time, and around half an hour it took me to draw 5 or 6 boxes on one page. The next 50 were about slower, more gradual convergence. So you imagine the vanishing points far off the page and estimating the direction of the lines. And after that, the control lines come in too. Yeah, and what was really the most challenging thing was because you draw the boxes in X-ray mode, so you will also have to draw the backside, and yeah, guessing the lines for that was quite hard, especially in the beginning. The lines were off, they were not facing towards the vanishing points. And yeah, I also go over to drive only 5 boxes per page, because at 6 there was way too much stuff going on. Time for the final 150 boxes. You remember the convergence? Now you have to draw both on one page and mix it up. But for the rapid convergence ones, you don't draw the vanishing points anymore on the page. You were guessing them now, just like you do on the more gradual convergence ones. And then it's just pure quantity. Yeah, when you're bad at something, do it a lot. And this was it, which was the task all about. So I kept practicing these boxes. I only have 5 hours in a week for this course and in the morning. So yeah, I just quitted or left over the superimposed lines and ghosted planes exercises, and I really recognized my lines get a little bit worse now than before, but leaving that behind helped me to gain a little bit speed and focus on this challenge. Let's compare the first 5 boxes to the last 5 boxes. Yeah, to the obvious first. In the last one you finally see and have a clue what's going on here on this page. This is a mess. And yeah, especially the planes look correct and the size they should have. For example, here this looks kind of not in the correct shape, and here also. Like the upper one here is way bigger than that, so I kind of messed up the perspective there a lot. And here, if you follow the lines, okay, here there are some mistakes, but are not as fatal as before. So it's really a kind of cool improvement, I think, and especially gained a lot new concepts and applied them. And I also learned something about learning, and it was cool to get reminded of having fun while learning. Yeah, but that wasn't everything I drew in this time frame. So let's see what I else do. First, there was this, yeah, like video game character. I had in mind something like a berserker that has rage that is building up in combat when he doesn't get hit, and then he reaches certain rage levels, which improves movement and damage while he's not getting hit. Kind of a cool idea, I thought. And then I drew a water sword dancer and this woman which has all my old art in her hair. Yeah, a mermaid sketch, Valkyrie. I have somehow this Valkyrie character always popping up, and I drew her a lot already. And then I made some gesture drawings and a portrait and tried to do it in kind of an old style. Another pose sketch, and then a standing pose of this character, which, yeah, is supposed to be the main character of the next video game I'm gonna make. Yeah, so let's draw a line here and find some conclusion for the box challenge. One thing that I think was my biggest mistake is here in between each lesson. I'm currently at lesson 2 and preparing for the next challenge, is when you do your homework that I showed you, like the rotated boxes or the rough perspective, you got the chance to submit the homework here, and then you have the chance to get feedback on it. Unfortunately, it takes about 14 days to be able to upload something then again. So I didn't do that because in the early stages I thought 4 weeks is way enough for this 3 lessons and 2 challenges. But yeah, I was wrong and I should take my time. I think that's the best work plan for this. The next video will about the 250 cylinder challenge. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you feel like to, and thanks. Bye bye.